Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our special meeting of council for Monday, January 29th, 2024. Call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the agenda of the special meeting of council on Monday, January 29th, 2024.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, there are no delegations for this meeting. This is our first of 4 meetings this evening. Moving on to staff reports, Public Works, the Fowler-Dennis Drain preliminary engineers report. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report PW 2024-03 Fowler-Dennis Drain preliminary engineers report, and that Council accepts the preliminary engineers report prepared by Robinson Consultants, and that Council does not proceed to a final engineers report.
Thank you, Councillor. And just for the public, we will get the engineer's report for it first. We'll open up the floor to any questions, and then to members of council after the public has spoken. Okay? So, welcome.
If we can put my presentation up on screen.
You can use it. Oh, sorry. There you
go. Thank you. So I'll stay sitting so I'm not blocking anybody's view, since there's a bunch of extra seats in here, if that's okay. So yeah, this is the meeting to consider the Fowler preliminary engineers report for the Fowler-Denis municipal drain. The red area signifies the drainage area, and the black is the general work area associated with this, with the initial consideration. So as far as existing drainage, the existing Fowler-Denis municipal drain was originally constructed as an award drain in 1890. It was converted to a municipal drain in 1912, so it's been a municipal drain for quite a while. The Fowler-Denis municipal drain was last improved under an engineer's report completed by Stidwell and Associates Limited, dated May 21st, 1969. Robinson Consultants was appointed by the Township of North Glengarry on June 11th, 2018 to complete a preliminary engineer's report for amendments to the existing engineer's report. The preliminary engineer's report for the municipal drain was requested by the Township of North Glengarry to ensure that landowners are informed of the costs, impacts of any improvements, widening, deepening, additional land required, etc., and the environmental concerns associated with the amendments prior to proceeding to a full engineer's report. So at that time, it was known that there were potential concerns and you wanted everybody to be aware of them. Robinson Consultants, Inc. submitted a draft of the preliminary engineer's report for the municipal drain to the Township of North Glengarry for their review on January 15th of 2020. There was an extended review period incurred due to COVID and an initial acceptance by staff of the general recommendation that no work was recommended. So on the basis that no work was recommended, they didn't really do anything for the report. We didn't go to the meeting to consider. However, it was ultimately decided that we should proceed to a meeting to consider to inform the landowners. The Township of North Glengarry confirmed the intent to proceed to a meeting to consider on September 20th of 2023, and on that basis, Robinson Consultants finalized and submitted the preliminary report for distribution and the consideration. Initially, the on-site meeting of the affected landowners and concerned parties was held on September 4th, 2018. The primary concerns expressed at the on-site meeting included concerns regarding decreased outlet capacity due to a culvert lining at County Road 10, so that still exists there. Capacity of the existing crossing of the Canadian National Railway, so that issue does still exist. That improvements and the change in land use upstream may cause flooding if insufficient outlet was not provided. So that was the basis to say if you're going to make improvements upstream, you also have to look at the Canadian National Railway and the County Road 10 culvert, was the primary concern that was expressed at the meeting with regard to that. And the potential costs of the proposed improvements to the municipal drain. This was the primary concern that was expressed by most of the parties, that there were going to be significant costs involved and that they didn't want to proceed to a full report. And that's what we've heard throughout this process. The purpose of the proposed amendment is to provide adequate outlet for tile drainage to the lands considered to be within the area requiring drainage. The preliminary report will provide a proposed drainage solution, discuss costs, and agency concerns. Requirements for preliminary reports are outlined in Section 10 of the Drainage Act and are as noted below. And we provide these just so you're aware that it's not meant to be a full report. It's not meant to have a lot of details. It's supposed to review the potential options and give some initial consideration. So the typical requirements include a sketch plan of the drainage works, an estimated cost of the works to the extent that it's practical to do so, an environmental appraisal where requested, none was requested here, and a benefit cost statement where requested. None was requested here, but a lot of the options consider the benefit and cost in weighing that. To review the potential options, we completed a survey that was done in 2018. We determined that an increased depth of 1.41 meters at the upstream end is required to provide a total average depth of the drain of 1.5 meters. So that's what the landowner was requesting. He needs that basically 4 to 5 feet to allow for tile outlet. Review of the surveyed profile from 2018 indicates that the improved depth must be carried downstream at a typical minimum slope of 0.05%, which is a 50 millimeter drop per 100 meters, or about 2 inches in 300 feet, for those who prefer imperial. Will require improvements to approximately 2,185 meters of the drain to the point where the proposed improved grade intersects the existing channel, so where it's already deep enough to accept that improved depth. For comparison, we provided a second option, providing an average depth of the drain of 1 meter, which is reduced from the 1.5 meter requirement. For the west half of Lot 13, Concession 1, the results decreased the total length of the improvements to a total of approximately 255 meters, so significantly reduced from the 2 kilometers previously. However, providing that option did not meet the specified requirements of the property owner and would not provide them any improved outlet for tile. A third option, which includes the owner installing a sufficient header tile and pumped tile outlet without any changes to the existing drain, was considered. And ultimately, this is the one that we ended up recommending. However, there was also a fourth option given, which addresses the concerns expressed at the on-site meeting with regard to the perceived reduced capacity of the county road culvert due to the down to the rail crossing. There is a culvert lining in there. Ultimately, we believe that that could also be done under maintenance without going to a full report. So if you wanted to do that, you could go ahead and do that. What you can't do is add additional capacity to the rail crossing without a new culvert and a new report to place that culvert. However, I would caution you, if you were considering that option, that There's currently a number of cases in front of the courts with regard to rail crossings. The rail has somehow decided that they're not going to, that they're a higher authority under federal law and that they're not going to allow the work and they're not going to pay their half, and so it may be difficult if you decided to proceed with that option. A portion of the overall cost is allocated and assessed to all properties within the drainage area based on a typical cost of maintenance for the drain. However, some of the cost for the initial construction will be paid by road authorities. So option one, the routine construction was about $500,000 there. There was a special benefit of $151,000 that would be assessed to the road authorities, and that would leave $327,000 assessed to the properties. Option two, which was the reduced depth and limited length, but not providing for the requirements, and so it still required a full report, but did not require any improvements to the road or rail. Therefore, there's no special benefit. That in the end, because it required a full report and the limited construction, that was about a $75,000 cost that would be assessed to the landowners. Option three is the landowner installing his own pump station, which was the recommended solution. That was about $67,000 that would have to be paid for by the landowner. However, the cost of the preliminary report, if you didn't proceed, would be removed from that. So that was estimated at $16,500 at the time. So the landowner's cost is closer to $52,000. And then option four, which just replaced the road authority culverts and did some minor maintenance work. If you did that with a full report, the total cost that we were estimating was $64,000. However, we also believe that you could likely accomplish most of that simply by doing maintenance without proceeding to a full report. So the cost would be significantly reduced if you wanted to do that. If no work is to proceed, as per the staff report here, we had the current costs estimated at $15,000, and ultimately, because the council was the initiator of this project, it was not, there was two options to originally initiate the project. One was for the landowner to do his own petition, in which case the landowner would have been required to make that payment if no work was to proceed. However, in this case, it was council that initiated this project under Section 78, so if no work is to proceed, it's ultimately them that has to pay that cost. So this slide I've already gone over. The current cost must be paid by the municipality as the project initiator under Section 78 of the Drainage Act if ultimately no work is to proceed. So the recommendation here is that that no work proceed, that the work is, the intent of the work to provide outlet for tile drainage to the one property is most cost effectively and most easily obtained by installing a tile pump station, which are fairly common in the area. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you very much for your report. Are there any questions from the public at this point?
Where would that pump be situated?
Yeah, could you please give your name? We'll need your name, and if you could please come up to the podium and ask the question. Sorry, just because people are watching at home, so they need to hear it.
My name is Pierre Manceau. I'd like to know where that pump would be situated and what the cost of maintenance of it and keep it going while it's running.
So that pump would be situated on the lands for the person in question. I'm sorry, I don't actually know the name of the person who was interested in the work. There was one farm property that was initially interested in the work and wanted the improved depth for tile outlet, so that pump station would then be installed entirely by that landowner in whatever fashion they see fit, on their own land, installed and maintained by them on their own behalf with no obligation under the Drainage Act to the drain or to the municipality for that work. We've estimated the cost, but it would be up to the landowner how that was installed and ultimately what the costs would be. You could buy a Cadillac version or you could buy a basic version, but that cost would be to the individual landowner.
Okay, thank you. Subsequent questions?
Excuse me, when they pump the water, where would they pump the water to?
They would pump the water to the ditch. There is, from our initial review, we believe the land is currently in the drainage area. It currently accepts the flow from that drainage area. There was no proposed change to the drainage area, and that land would continue to drain to the drain. What they were looking for was improved capacity to gravity outlet tile, and that just wouldn't happen right now, but we believe the drain has more than enough capacity to accept that, the flow from that land.
But it's not keeping up right now. If it pumps, it's going to be worse, no? It's going to send more water in a shorter time.
That's debatable. From our initial review, and we haven't done a deep enough review to say for certain, but typically, tiles actually, because they draw down the water during drier periods, there's initial storage capacity and in the land because it's drier, and then it takes a while to work its way into the tile. So ultimately, most pump tile systems, because they're slow to remove the water from the land, result in a differing peak time so that it doesn't cause any additional flow in the drain.
And the problem is in spring. Like in the summer, we have no problem.
Mhm.
The problem is in the spring, so there's water everywhere.
Yeah. Right now, under the Drainage Act, that landowner is on the drain. Every landowner on that drain is entitled to use the drain in the way they see fit. So they could have installed a pump station without even asking us.
Everybody could put a pump.
Everybody could put a pump. Everybody can have a sump pump in their basement. People who didn't have tile before can tile their land. People who didn't have a ditch, if the drain runs through your property, you're assessed benefit, and the purpose of that benefit is saying that you have access to that drain to use it for your purposes, so,
But it's not, it doesn't suffice in spring.
yeah. There are options available for improvements if you want to proceed. I wouldn't do it under this process. I would, if people are interested in improvements, I would go back to a Section 4 petition for drainage and start a new process over where the people who are interested in having those improvements and getting rid of flooding in the spring or whatever, all get together and provide a more defined scope, because the scope of this initial project, which was providing the extra depth for tile capacity, that we no longer believe that's acceptable.
Okay. Further questions or comments?
I have a question to the mayor.
Yep.
Tom Cairns. This is so way above my pay grade. I don't understand anything that's going on. I mean, it's a lot of technical information. There might be a lot of farmers here that understand it all. I don't understand anything. The only thing that's going to concern, I think, a lot of us is how's this going to affect my taxes, which are already quite high. So, I mean, this is all engineering. I don't know where these drains are. I know there's one that goes through my property. They put a new culvert in the other year. I had to pay for part of that. I think going forward is how's this going to affect
Well, generally,
that?
generally as part of a drain, it's paid for by the landowners who are affected. In this case, we've decided not to proceed, so the municipality will be on the hook for the $15,000 to pay that down for sure.
Okay, that was just a simple, simple person.
Any other questions or comments? I'll open it up to members of council. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the report, you mentioned access culverts, I'm presuming driveways. And I just want to clarify, this is what you're talking about we could be doing under maintenance and not going further into this process? Is that correct?
The one I was specifically talking about in my report was the county road culvert, which could be done under maintenance. So it was initially the correct size. They have put a lining. The lining reduces the size and reduces the, increases the invert of the pipe, so that causes some water to sit in the drain. So that could be replaced, and it could be resized under a new report if people wanted to review the size. But it could also be replaced at its original size without the lining, which I think would likely alleviate some of the concern, maybe not all of them.
Fair enough. I guess to simplify, do we know of any restrictions downstream from the county road culvert?
The initial option one did look at other culverts. There were about 16 culverts that would be, that we assumed would be replaced, although we haven't done the full in-depth review for those culverts. But in general, culverts that are potentially from 1969, when the report was last done, they're likely at the end of their lifespan. And you know, conditions have changed in the field with more farmers tiling, more farmers clearing. Potentially and typically, they would now be undersized if you wanted to review them. But that would be a different process than what was initially started.
Yep, fair enough, thank you.
Okay. Did somebody want to respond up here? Did you, back there? Sure. Yeah, come on. It's okay.
I'm no expert, but where the water is backing up, it's at the train rail. The culvert there, it's very small. You can see when the water is higher than the culvert and doesn't keep up at all. They have an overflow further down, a big overflow, really high, but you get maybe, I don't know if you get a foot of water that gets reached that. So if they don't want to do anything, I think it's useless to keep going and trying to do something else.
That's an issue that we're currently dealing with the government, is CN, as was said, they believe they have the right to everything. If there's a track, for us to cross their track, sometimes they come out with a program to pay half the cost, but we have to pay for all that to even cross their tracks. So we send them letters, they don't respond to us. They're not a really good partner to work with, and that's the issue we're having. And there's court cases going on right now that municipalities are waiting to hear back from, so that we know how to move forward.
Because I think the major problem
is right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Option one did include approximately $100,000. It was estimated for jacking and boring an additional culvert under the rail crossing. However, knowing what we know now with the issues and concerns and the process that's going to be involved, that is likely light. It would likely go up. That should be assessed to the rail authority. However, they're not accepting currently not accepting the cost. So potentially that would fall back onto the municipality or the landowners to pay the rail authority costs, which we certainly don't recommend. So if you were interested in doing a rail authority culvert, I'd wait till this one works its way through the system. If you have the ability to wait, I wouldn't proceed unless it was an absolutely dire requirement.
Yeah. Okay. Question?
Johnny Chaudette, I'm the owner of that farm where the railroad cross.
Okay.
And like they said, usually we get about 4 or 5 feet of water on the south side of the railroad. And on the other side, there's about 2-3 feet. So the real problem is at the railroad. So I don't think if you change the culvert on County Road 10, will make a big effect. It's going to be just a waste of money to change that culvert if it's still good.
Right.
If it's not good, well, that's another problem. But
Yeah.
I don't think right now.
The issue is at the CN.
Is that the CN, and I tried to get that my crossing done for years and years, and I mean it's just sorry pain in the ass to do it, to get it done. You know.
You can say that.
Sorry.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name's Andy McGorka. I think I'm probably the original one that, for this report. I bought the property in 2004, and then a few years later, I noticed they were doing improvements, big improvements, from my property all the way down to, I think, Pierre's property, which was the property that goes to the road. And I was just questioning, this is where I started conversations in 2010, 11 with Manson about drainage and stuff like this, because I was wondering, why wouldn't you start on my property, which is the origin of the Fowler's Drain? I mean, you can see the elevation difference there that would have been required. Why didn't it go from there? So this is where discussions that originally occurred with Manson. But it took that many years. Now we're getting up to 15 years. Anyway, it's not going to be worth anything for me to do that. And my good neighbor, Pierre, definitely you're not going to be pumping more water, because I know that that point there where the water accumulates also. So it's just a question on that, because that's the stuff I just don't understand why it wasn't done all as one.
It just depends on what was requested back in the day. Again, council doesn't control what is requested or what work is requested to be done. Once that's done, it goes to our drainage superintendent, and then it proceeds that way. It's, Zoe, maybe you have a better answer than I have, or you may have a better answer than I have.
So the original 1969 report has a profile and cross-section that's associated with it. You can only maintain back to that profile and cross-section. And for whatever reason, maybe because it was expensive, as we're pointing out here, in 1969, they decided that only a ditch of like a foot deep, which is what exists there, is what's required. So that's all you can maintain the profile back to, is what's specified in that report. And the report specifies like a 1 foot deep ditch for that property, not a 5 foot deep ditch.
Okay, it just didn't make common sense. I mean, if you're looking at the property and all of a sudden then it drops off, like, why would you want on a land that could be tiled? And this is where years later that I got Lynn to come and take a look, and he said, can't do this. I mean, it has to be taken out. And that's where there was a bunch of improvements that were all done in 2007 and 2000. The reason why is because I noticed on my tax that I was wondering, what are all these charges? And that's because we're all part of the Fowler's Drain,
Right.
which didn't even touch me, but and that's just part of it, being part of the landowner itself. But I
So-
was just wondering on that, why couldn't they just have continued? But that's where I was talking with Manson, and this is where over the years, like I said, 2010 or 11, it was quite a while to try and get the information. And just at this point now, it's not even worth to do anything anyways.
Yeah.
That'll be for the next property owner.
Whatever was done at that time was likely a maintenance of the drain, not an actual
2008?
likely?
No,
I can't say
it
for
was
certain.
massive. There were massive digging that was going on with all the culverts, larger culverts that were all replaced from my property, well, not on mine, right next door,
Yeah.
until Pierre's property.
They should still
I
have
was
been,
looking at
so
all
replacing a culvert is done under maintenance, and removing the sediment is done under maintenance. Those don't require a new report, so it can look like a lot of work, and I'm sure it was, but that means they can't actually change the profile. So in 2008, there was no report done. The
Right.
current governing bylaw and report is 1969.
So that was just the maintenance that was being done.
That would be a maintenance, probably a significant maintenance,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not an actual improvement to the drain, so.
Okay, so anyways, that was the concern about, like I said, in the future, I was hoping to maybe tile it, but then I found out that that might not be a possibility. So we'll leave it land the way it is.
Okay, thank you. Further questions or comments? Council, we'll read the question one more time. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report PW 2024-03 Fowler Denis Drain preliminary engineer's report, and that council accepts the preliminary engineer's report prepared by Robinson Consultants, and that council does not proceed to a final engineer's report.
Okay, thank you. Any last questions? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. There are none opposed. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Massey.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley. There being no further business to discuss, the meeting was adjourned at 5:17 p.m.
All those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and we do have these people right here that if you have any last-minute questions that you'd like to discuss with them, they're here for a few minutes, so thank you for coming out. And welcome to our Committee of Adjustment hearing for Monday, January 29th, 2024. Are there any disclosure of conflict of interest? Seeing none, motion to accept the agenda. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the Committee of Adjustment hearing agenda for Monday, January 29th, 2024.
Thank you. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Moving on to ratifying the minutes, Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the Committee of Adjustment hearing minutes of Monday, November 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Any question on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, moving on to minor variances, MV01 2024. We'll put it on the floor. Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams. It is the recommendation of the Planning Department that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application MV01 2024 as submitted.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, as you mentioned, minor variance MV01 2024. The owner for this property, Madame Kathleen Skier. The location, 20-90 Kenyon Concession Road 1, here in Alexandria. So, as you can see, we see the town of Alexandria, and just south of that, you have that purple box there. This is where the property is located. So that's what it is. It's a a little bit more than 10-acre property, located as such. There's already a single-family dwelling on it, with, of course, a private septic system and a private well. So this is very similar to the one we had the last time. So basically, the minor variance is a condition of a severance. So as you can see there, the owner is actually severing off the single-family dwelling and the little portion of land on your right-hand side there, and they're keeping the purple area. So the minor variance here is only, so the only thing that was not compliant with our zoning bylaw is the lot frontage on Kenyon Concession 1. So that little section of the purple property that has frontage on Kenyon Concession 1 only has a proposed frontage of 21.4 meter, and the required portion is really 45 meters. So that's why we have this minor variance here. The official plan designation, so it's located in the rural district. Our zoning layer, so as you can see, mostly rural. The wetlands that you see is just on the right, bottom right corner. There's just a little bit of wetlands on the property, but it's mostly located on the rear, in the rural zone. So as I mentioned, the purpose for this application, we're asking for a reduction in lot frontage from the required 45 to the proposed 21.4 meter. So that's where my little arrow is here. I'll show it on the pictures right here. So it's on Kenyon Concession 1, so it's a rural road. The surrounding areas, as you can see, mostly rural properties. On the east of the property, there's the residential hamlet. So that's why you have on my zoning layer right there. The orange is also residential. So pretty much all around the property is residential. There's no big issues with the severance. That's why it was approved by the counties, but there's just that frontage that needed to be adjusted. I think I have the picture. Okay, I'll show it right after. So yeah, 10.62 acres is the entire property. The owner is severing off 8.28 acres, so that's compliant. And what's being severed off for the existing residential property is 1.91 acres, so that's also compliant. There's enough room for the septic system. And of course, on the retained portion, on the 8-acre property, there's also room for septic system, well, and any other accessory buildings. Water's not an issue. Entrances are not an issue either. I'll show it just after. But I just want to clarify the other box here that you see. So this severance application is actually two severances. So the first one is the retained portion, the purple portion. There's one being severed off where you have the single-family dwelling, and that little square that you see on the right-hand side is actually a piece being severed off the 10-acre, but it's being added as a lot addition to the neighboring property to make it a little bit bigger. So at the end of the day here, we're only creating one additional property, which is the 8-acre property. And frontage was the issue. And my last slide that I want to show right here. So as you can see, on Canyon Concession 1, there's already two existing entrances. So one is for the dwelling, and the other entrance on the west, where you see that little mail power box, that's the entrance to the retained portion. So no additional entrances are proposed. Civic number could easily be issued for that property. Very quickly, does it conform to the intent of the official plan? Yes, it does, being designated as rural. Rural encourages new residential properties as such. Does it comply with our zoning bylaw? Same thing, we're all property is zoned rural, so new lot creation is permitted. Deemed suitable and desirable for the surrounding areas, so it mostly residential properties, so not seen as an issue. We have also not received any comments from neighboring properties. There's just Raisin Region that commented because of that little wetland portion. And is it minor in nature? In this case, yes, it is. It's not going to affect any neighbor, especially the fact that the entrance is already here. So it is the recommendation of the Planning Department that the Committee of Adjustment approve minor variance application MV01 2024 as submitted. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Jacob. Councillor Manley.
Yeah, no, it's not part of the application, Jacob, but just wondering, do you know what their plans are with that severed property? Is it residential or looking?
Yeah, it will be residential, yes, yeah. So most likely residential with accessory buildings and stuff, yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Further questions from members of council before we go to the public? Okay, we'll ask the public.
Does anyone wish to speak in favor or against the application this evening?
If whoever wants to speak, can you come up to the microphone and please state your name?
Can she ask the question in French?
Sure.
I don't know. Never came here before. Okay, I'd like to know how many houses they're supposed to rent, or what is it going to be?
Go ahead.
Because I'm a close neighbor.
Oui, très bien. Oui.
OK.
Présentement, c'est juste une maison qui est permise sur la propriété. S'il voudrait en avoir une de plus...
Une propriété de 10 ans?
Oui, seulement une maison est permise, comme c'est là. Oui.
Comme c'est là?
Ben, il faudrait qu'on passe un autre zoning amendment pour en avoir une deuxième. Fait que vous seriez notifié aussi si vous avez une objection.
Fait que présentement, c'est seulement pour une maison.
Exactement.
Qui veut dire que ça va être derrière nos maisons.
Oui, parce que l'entrée était trop mince pour mettre la maison dessus. So, oui, elle serait en arrière.
Tu veux dire une maison sur 10 ans?
Ben, sur 8.19, là, 8.18.
OK.
Ouais. C'est bon?
Okay.
C'est quoi?
Does anyone wish?
Nicole.
Deuxièmement? Merci.
Does anyone else wish to speak in favor or against the application or have a question?
Non, ben moi, c'est juste pour être au courant de qu'est-ce qui se passe. Vraiment, parce que c'est en face de chez nous.
Ça,
Ben, j'ai pas d'adresse.
Tu peux m'appeler demain, c'est la question.
OK, parfait. Juste pour rester au courant, de la façon que je peux comprendre, si on venait pas, on n'était pas plus être au courant de qu'est-ce qui se passe.
Ouais, non, si tu viens pas au meeting, tu ne seras pas notifié vraiment, une fois que ça va passer, il n'y a plus de notification que tu vas recevoir, no matter what.
OK.
Mais si tu as des questions par rapport à ce qu'il peut être développé, quoi que ce soit, je m'appelle. Moi, c'est Jacob.
Jacob.
Réon.
Rayon? Rayon, ok, c'est bon.
Anybody that didn't speak French on council want to know what that question was? Yeah, could you?
They basically wanted to know if it was for just one property or there was multiple properties.
Single-family home?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
more?
So at this time, there's just one single-family home that's permitted on the property.
Okay, merci.
And third and final time?
Is there anybody else that'd like to speak for or against the? No? Good.
No, it's fine. I'm here in case you had questions, that's all. I'm sorry. My name's Kimmy Lutz. I'm for Mrs. DeCare.
Okay.
The line is only there because that's where the roads were to get into the other piece. So really what she's doing right now is just kind of housekeeping. She's just added a piece on to her son's property, which is next door. She's matching up her property with the back of the line for her son's property. She had that currently, and for the foreseeable future, she doesn't have any intention for the back parcel. It's gonna be sitting fallow for the time being. She hasn't made any plans to do anything with it. She just wants to get this house out. I think that she's kind of estate planning right now, and her son's already gotten one house, and she's got a daughter, so she's working on that, but she hasn't made any intention immediately to do anything with the back piece. We're just housekeeping.
Getting it ready. Okay. Thank you. Okay, any further questions from members of council? Okay, I've already called the question. All those in favor of the variance? Motion is carried. None opposed. Thank you, everyone. And
Thank you.
motion to adjourn, Councillor Cadell.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden. There being no further business to discuss, the Committee of Adjustment hearing was adjourned at 5:55.
All those in favor? Motion is carried. Of course, since I don't have any other thing to mark. Okay, we will now move on to our public meeting of planning for Monday, January 29th, 2024. Is there any disclosure of conflict of interest? Seeing none. Motion to accept the agenda, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move by myself and seconded by Councillor Manley that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the public meeting of planning agenda of Monday, January 29th, 2024.
Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. At least I get a choice on this one. Ratify the minutes, Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the minutes of the public meeting of planning on Monday, November 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Any questions on the minutes? See none, all those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. Zoning amendments Z18 2023. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the owner for this property, Basima El Zahabi, the location 64 Lockhill Street East here in Alexandria. So as you can see right there, it's in the middle of Alexandria, more precisely the corner of Bishop and Lockhill Street East. Council will be familiar with the property. It's the third or fourth zoning amendment that we do for this building right here. So official plan designation, urban settlement area within Alexandria, and it's in the residential district. Our zoning designation, so right now, it used to be zoned institutional. We changed it to R4-7 for the building to be only used for residential purposes. And now we're going to do another zoning amendment. So right now it's R4-7. We're proposing to zone it to R4-8. So it's residential fourth density. So the purpose of this application is to rezone the property from R4 to R8 to permit a 5-unit apartment building and to allow for a reduction of 1 parking space from the required 5 parking space. So If council remembers, back, I think it was in 2021, we changed the zoning from institutional to residential for the building to only have apartments in it. And that's what it was zoned for, so just below. So it was on-site, the owner were to provide for 3 on-site parking spaces, and then there was the 4 along the road. So right now, what the new owner is proposing, an additional apartment, but they also have added an additional on-site parking, plus the 4 roadside parking spaces. So they're adding 1 parking space and 1 apartment.
Yep, go ahead.
Just a clarification, Jacob. What's the -7 and what's the difference with the -7 and -8?
Yeah, it's just a number we give to the exception. So there's absolutely no relation to, it's just, we go in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. So the last one we did was for that property, so it was -7. Now we're doing a new one, R4, so it's just -8. No relation whatsoever to the, okay? So that's the proposed site plan right here. So the darker area that you have is the building. So the building footprint is not changing at all. It's a 2-story building plus the basement, but 2-story building. No additions are proposed. The exits are fine. So there's really just interior work that's being done. So the council will also remember that we passed a zoning bylaw for the neighboring property. So as you can see on the south side of the property, there's a right-of-way to access the parking for the other property. So that's not being changed. It's a legal right-of-way. It's on title, so it has to remain that 3.1 meter right-of-way to access the other property. So what the new owner is proposing, so there's stacked parking right there along the right-of-way, and there's the 2 other parkings that were there before. So there's actually now 4 parking on site instead of 3. So what the owner said is we're adding 1 apartment. We're also going to add a parking space because, as you know, Bill 23, even though our bylaw says that we need 1.5 parking space per apartment, Bill 23 says that you only need 1 parking per apartment, which takes over our zoning bylaw. So in this case, technically, the property would need 5 parking space. It only provides for 4. But council will remember that there's about 4 parking space along Bishop Street right here. Wait. Go ahead. Oh, okay. So, yeah, property 0.18 acre. All the setback, lot area, lot coverage is all considered legal because of previous zoning that were passed. As I explained, the apartments. So right now, there's 3 apartments on the main floor, so it's 3 2-bedroom apartment, and there's 1 very large apartment on the second story. So right now, the entire second floor is 1 apartment. So what the new owner is proposing is to split that floor in half. Well, not in half, but there's going to be a 3-bedroom apartment and a 1-bedroom apartment on the second story. So resulting in that 1 additional apartment. So you have the square footage right here. But as I mentioned, the footprint does not change. So you see the red line there. So right now, the apartment on the second story is actually a 4-bedroom. So he's keeping pretty much the same layout inside. He's just creating a new fire separation and creating a new apartment. So that's the proposed work. That's the additional apartment. And then this is pretty much what I explained for the parking. So just because parking can be an issue, in this case, the owner is proposing the additional parking on site. Being in charge of bylaw with Todd, I can tell you that we have received no complaints or concerns with the parking along Bishop Street. There's people parked there sometimes, but when I was there, it wasn't even plowed, and there's no issues really. It's being used once in a while. That's the building. So as you can see, where I'm parked is where the parking lot is. The owners are actually maintaining the parking spots when they need them. I have the other picture right here. So the first car that you see parked right beside the balcony there is where the 2 stacked parking would be. The other car with the snow, it's parked right in the middle of the right-of-way. I don't know what kind of arrangement they have with the neighbors, but that's where it is. But the parking beside is not plowed. So I don't know what the arrangement is, but I can tell you that it's not an issue. As you can see, there's only 2 cars, and there's room for 2 more on the side that are not being used. So I don't know if the apartments are rented or not, but there's no parking issues for that property. So that's why this was considered okay, I guess. So Planning Act, as you know, council is allowed to pass zoning bylaws. The PPS allows for densification, so that's what the owner is proposing here, to add the new apartment. Official plan, pretty much the same thing. So in conclusion, based on the criteria above, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is compliant with the township zoning bylaw with the intent and purpose of the official plan. It's consistent with provincial policy statement, and it promotes the efficient use of land deemed appropriate for urban settlement areas like Alexandria. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, Jacob. I have a few questions on this file. First of all, what's in the basement? Is there an apartment down there?
There's no apartment. There's, last time I was there, if I remember correctly, it's a very low
it's more of a
ceiling.
crawl
It's pretty much a crawl space, so there's no apartment
Okay.
that's going to be proposed in the basement.
Yeah, I can see the parking being a problem. If I'm not mistaken, the building right next to it, on the other side, is that not a building where there was
Yeah.
there were parking problems there?
Not me.
Well,
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the building over there had the commercial, we passed the zoning bylaw to allow for 4 apartments and 1 commercial space. And there's lots of there's 2 additional parking for that property with, including the parking at the back where it's blocked right now. But right now, just with the parking in front, there's enough for the apartments. But I mean, yes, there's a lot of apartments in just the 2 properties. We have not seen any problems as of yet, but.
But I think the neighbors of that other property were having problems with people parking
That
in.
was-
in
They
that-
were when they had the business.
Yeah, and that was
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Okay.
And it was when they came because they had a gaming place
Right.
in this building.
Right,
And they
right.
thought there was gonna be traffic up and down but
Okay,
it-
so-
it never materialized.
Okay, since resolved then. Well, yeah, I don't, there was a woman who said that someone was parking in front of her driveway.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just that there's going to be another tenant in there. And obviously, well, more than likely, they're gonna have a vehicle. And that's a boulevard. Is that a paved boulevard where you're,
It is, yes, yeah.
okay, so there are no restrictions to parking overnight on those paved boulevards?
If they're on there, no. If
No?
they're on the boulevard, no. It's, I don't know in the past what the deal was, but that was always used for that building, for especially, I think it was a church in the past, or a grocery store.
grocery store, then a
It-
church.
It was always used by that property, and like at the last bylaw, that's kind of what was,
Yeah.
the approach was that this was used by that property and was still being able to be used by that property.
Okay, well, I mean, if there's parking there, there's parking there, that's okay. I know that entire stretch of road is going to get redeveloped with the Main Street project. And,
Not there.
Not there?
The parking is on Bishop Street.
oh, it's on Bishop.
At Dominion.
Isn't
Yeah.
there parking there?
No, there's parking on the front of that, but only if you're, there's, like, overnight parking is not on the street there. It's only on this street going this way.
Okay, you can't
There's
park
nothing
overnight there?
You can't park overnight there.
No.
Oh, okay. All right, so it's just that we're talking about. Thank you, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk.
Does anyone wish to speak in favor or against the application this evening? Second time, does anyone wish to speak in favor or against the application this evening? And a third and final time?
Okay, any further questions from members of council? Seeing none, okay, we will move on to adjournment. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Massey, that there being no further business to discuss, the public meeting was adjourned at 6:07 PM.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. We are going to move right into our council meeting. So welcome to our regular meeting of council for Monday, January 29th, 2024. I'll call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? Seeing none, no, we're going to move on. Motion to accept the agenda, Councillor Massey.
I was waiting for the whole Canada practice.
Yeah,
last night, and
we're late moving forward, so.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry accepts the agenda of the regular meeting of Council of January 29th, 2024.
Thank you. Any questions on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Adoption of the previous minutes, Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, that the minutes of the following meetings be adopted as circulated. Regular meeting of council, December the 11th, 2023. Special closed session of council, December the 11th, 2023. And special meeting of council, which was the budget, January 18th, 2024.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any questions on the minutes? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. No delegation, staff reports, administrative department. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report AD 2024-01 as a report to appoint a municipal treasurer, and that Council adopt bylaw 02-2024 being a bylaw for the appointment of a treasurer, and that bylaw 02-2024 be read a first, second, third time and enacted in council, open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Pretty nervous right now, Zoe? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just the bylaw to make the appointment of Zoe Bougie as our treasurer official. It's a requirement of the Municipal Act.
I know you guys must have lots of questions. Questions? Seeing none? All those in favor? Motion is carried. Congratulations.
Now you get to do some council reports.
Yeah.
That's your reward.
Okay, moving on to Community Services Department, Summer Employment Program, Opportunities Program. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives staff report CS 2024-01 for information purposes only.
Thank you. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just a housekeeping item. This is the same grant that we applied to and we were successful in obtaining last year, and we hired our tourism coordinator through that. Given the timeline, we weren't able to wait until the next council meeting, so we approached the CAO about applying directly to the fund, and she granted us permission to do so. So it's basically to keep council updated on this matter. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Moving on to cost breakdown of activities and overtime. Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move on myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report CS 2024-01 for information purposes only.
Thank you. Ann.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So during our budget deliberations, some questions arose regarding overtime for staff, as well as a request for breakdown for Canada Day activities. So we figured we'd combine both because they're similarly aligned. So the information is presented in the report. I invite questions or comments on the information that was presented.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just thank you, Ann, for this or whatever. I was sort of the one, I think, that asked for the breakdown on this. I don't want to be a Grinch, but I'm looking at the cost of the fireworks for December and wondering if that's something council would like to revisit or whatever. If it's $6,000, I don't know. I throw it out there as.
And you have a comment, or?
I will go by whatever council decides. I know that that is such a well-attended activity. It closes out the Santa Claus parade. And in the past, we also used to have fireworks on the 31st of December, and we canceled those. We still get calls about the fireworks on the 31st of December.
I do too.
So I can just imagine what's going to happen this December if there are no fireworks.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I have a tendency to agree with Councillor Manley. The activities that the Recreation Department participates in are important, because I agree, they're important to the community. But we need to keep these budgets reined in. We really do. And I know that over time, there's creep, and there's creep, and there's creep. And sometimes you got to pull that back a bit. And I think the Santa Claus Parade is a wonderful event. It's always very successful and very well attended. And I think that's great for an evening. Like, I'm not sure why fireworks are necessary. I see fireworks as a Canada Day event and in all of our communities, which would be maintained, which, as far as I'm concerned, would be the priority.
Go ahead, Councillor Massey.
Although they are very nice at the end of the parade, I think also that that's something that we maybe, not tonight because that's a discussion for another time, but yeah, that we could probably have a discussion on the fireworks after the Senate. I remember when I was on the Chamber of Commerce and we had the Festival of Lights, and the fireworks back then were paid by, I think, the sale of Nevadas, and I don't know where that disappeared. They were paid by that.
Well, I ran the Nevadas, it was just given to the Chamber of Commerce as.
Yeah, but that's it, yeah, so maybe if we can get hooked up with those, because I know they sell in Genuine and B&B, I'm not too sure, but if then, because that's why we had them, but we only had them once at the Festival of Lights at the opening, but now we kind of seem to have I would like to have a discussion, not tonight, but at some other point, and maybe for next year's budget, because.
Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to go looking for sponsors for the fireworks. There's plenty of businesses in Alexandria that you can get, sell sponsorships or sell badges or something like that for sponsorships.
It's not a bad idea.
I know our Canada Day fireworks is about 3,500, and it's really pretty spectacular show at that rate. So we'll twice that, I think it's trim it down at least and look for sponsors possibly.
Yeah. I personally wouldn't mind seeing it trimmed down a little bit, but I'd still like to see it go. I think it's the kickoff to the Christmas season, kickoff to the Christmas shopping season, and anyways, I've always enjoyed it, but I'd ask any members of council if they want to jump in. Others that haven't spoken, Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to suggest we have this discussion at another time and not now. One question I do have that's on the list, somebody asked me recently, the ice fishing derby. Do we know if that's happening? Because nobody's heard about it.
So actually, they put a statement on their Facebook page that it was postponed for this year, and I was speaking with Mr. Chevrier, and he's looking at doing it every 2 years, just because he's having a challenge getting the volunteers to come back after COVID.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, so go ahead. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
With regards to the overtime, I know in some of these areas, like if somebody's, Monday to Friday, and then there's an event on a Saturday, it can't be helped in order to be able to have these events staffed. I just have a question with regards to, I'm just wondering about some of the, like the Journée de la Femme, I think they get the surface to the GSP free of charge, which is great. A couple of questions. I'm wondering if that should go through the community grant program in terms of an in-kind service versus so that it's more transparent that way. Just a thought on that. And I'm just wondering if they're getting the ice surface for free, or at least the cement surface, why we're incurring staffing costs for that.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, our bylaw allows not-for-profit organizations 5 free rentals. And we had brought a report to council a long time ago when I started working at the municipality about the qualifications for the rentals. And we brought up the point that the rental of the cement slab is more expensive than the community hall. Council at that time decided not to put any qualifications and to let the groups go ahead and use the facilities because they recognized that those were important activities that could not occur if we started renting the surface to them. So this is why it goes through the bylaw. It doesn't go through the community grants in this case, because they're allowed to have 5 free rentals. So
I'm not suggesting they pay for the venue. That's not what I'm suggesting here. But, you know, if they wanted that concrete slab for 5 times in a year, that would be...
We're not seeing that.
I know.
And the 580 is staff that just have to clean bathrooms and pick up garbage or whatever. It's,
yes, yeah.
I think it's a small...
Well, it's not a large sum of money. It's just, you know, we need to know where our resources are going, that's all.
Any further questions or comments on this? So we'll have that discussion another day for the fireworks. Yeah, go ahead, Councilor Goodell.
I just wanted to agree with Karma on 6,000 for Santa Claus Parade fireworks. Not sure that's the best idea. It's more than most of them get for anything, and maybe could go somewhere else.
Okay, thank you. So are there any further questions on this? On any items? Go ahead, Councilor.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. Just because I remember when we got the budget, and that point, I think that was allotted budget for that was 25,000, I believe. And we were going to have a breakdown of the expenses because we were overspent. Remember when the allotted budget for Canada Day celebration was all on one end and we were way over? That's why we asked for this. So, and I know it hasn't been readjusted to that level too. So I know it's too late for this year because we will be overspent, I guess, at the end of the year. But next year, either we ramp up that amount that's in the budget.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we were like double over. That's why we demanded.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mayor, what I'll do is I will contact the outfit that we work with for the fireworks, and I'll try to get the best price we can get and see if we can reduce the cost somewhat for the Canada Day as well as for the Santa Claus Parade.
And also,
Okay,
yeah.
last question.
No, I know. It's just that, and there's a lot of stuff there that go in that Canada Day budget line that are not related to Canada Day too. I think we need to separate those.
Like what?
Well, the Journée de la Femme, that's not...
But this isn't all just Canada Day. This is a report for staff OT. It's not about Canada Day. It's a staff OT.
No, but that was a discussion we had at budget time.
I know, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying, Councillor, is this is cost breakdown of activities and overtime. So it's about the overtime that we spend for all of these activities.
Yeah, it's just that in the budget, those activities I didn't see in the budget. That's why we're seeing them now. But it's okay. We'll have that discussion another time. Sorry.
What's that?
I said we haven't passed the budget yet.
Then you can bring it up during the budget. Okay. All those in favor of the motion for accepting this report? Thank you. Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, thank you, Ann. Moving on to Treasury Department Temporary Borrowing Bylaw, number 2024. Councillor Madden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Massey, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report number TR 2024-01, Temporary Borrowing Bylaw 01-2024, and that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts Bylaw 01-2024, being a bylaw to authorize temporary borrowing from time to time during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, and that Bylaw 01-2024 be read a first, second, third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Okay, thank you. Who's speaking? Zoe? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Each year, it's standard practice for staff to bring forward a bylaw for temporary borrowing in the case of unforeseen circumstances. This bylaw allows for temporary borrowing by the township if it is required in 2024 up to the amount of $2 million.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, amending user fees and charges bylaws 03/2024, Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report number TR 2024-02, amending the user fees and charges bylaw 03/2024, and that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receives bylaw 03/2024, being a bylaw to amend the user fees and charges for the Township of North Glengarry, and that bylaw 03/2024 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Zoe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The user fees and charges have been amended in bylaw 03/2024 to reflect additions and changes to the cost to offer these services. Changes are detailed in the attachment, but include increases in recreation fees to more closely reflect the actual costs, and the addition of fees for things such as the fire department training facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Madden, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor McDonald. Thank you, Zoe. I just wanted to mention that I like the addition of the percentage. So we see the change. Obviously, the dollar cost is there, but the percentage sort of gives you the indication that it's either, well, I'd say most of them are well under inflation.
Yes.
A couple of them are up, like the board, I think it was the board's advertising was 50%. And I think the price is still well in line. So yeah, I think everything looks to be reasonable, but I just like the way it was presented. It was very usable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Just have a question. What municipal consent? $200, it was a new charge? What is that for?
Go ahead, Zoe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Municipal consent is primarily for the Public Works Department. It is for when utility companies need to do work on our infrastructure, typically on our roadways.
I thought it was when I allowed you to do something, you'd pay me $200 for it, but I guess not. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried, none opposed. Tile drainage loan and ratings bylaw, Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Manley, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry approves the application for a tile drainage loan for roll number 01110011000.0000 in the amount of $43,000, and that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts bylaw 04/2024, being a rating bylaw to impose special annual drainage rates upon land in respect of which money is borrowed under the Tile Drainage Act. And that bylaw 04/2024 be read a first, second, and third time in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you.
Madam Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council accepted the tile drain loan application in September of 2023. The work and inspection were completed in early January of 2024, and staff are now recommending that council approve the rating bylaw to impose special rates in respect to money borrowed under the Tile Drainage Act. The amount of $43,200 is subject to approval by OMAFRA and will be added to the tax roll at an interest rate of 6% over 10 years, and there are no financial implications to the township.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Madden.
I just had one quick question in general. The certificates, the 3 certificates, I thought it was interesting. I didn't notice anything that specifically applies those to the property on those certificates.
We received those documents through OMAFRA, and they have to be filed back through OMAFRA. There are other documents that go with it
Okay.
that are not bylaws that we do send to OMAFRA, linking the two together.
Okay. Thank you. I just, yeah, it's one of those things, looking at it going, this doesn't say that property. This is just amounts of money.
Yeah, I think we got rid of that about 10 years ago, where they used to list the property and the name of the person getting the loan, and so we got rid of that for privacy reasons. Okay, any other questions on this? All those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. 2024 budget approval. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report TR 2024-05, and that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopt 2024 operating and capital budgets as amended at the January 18, 2024 budget meeting, with a net municipal tax levy requirement of $6,851,142, as noted in the attached document.
Thank you, Councillor. Just a question to first, if we were to make a change, would we have to bring back the entire budget to another meeting?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we would just have to change the net
The
levy.
net amount, net levy. So there could be a change made tonight if somebody wanted to bring it up. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So as council is aware, on January 18th, we brought the budget for council's approval and consideration that day through the senior management team. At the end of that day, there was a couple of things which are noted in the background and the analysis in the report, which was a reduction of the website hosting of $5,000, removal of the electric ATV from fleet for recreation of $27,000, and then a reduction of the tennis court repair at the Dome, of which mostly noted is $34,000 from the tax levy. Also adjusted was the transfer room reserve, and $60,000 addition to the budget for the roof here at the main office. And there was an increase to the transfer of reserves for that amount. Just for council's information, there was a leak at the roof here last week, so it was a timely discussion. When Todd called me, I was thinking to myself, we need to get that going, so maybe we can give some people a call tomorrow and get going on that. So certainly thankful for council to increase that budget as well. Other than that, there was other discussion that was had. You saw some information from the Director of Community Services this evening around the costs for the events. There will be more information coming back to the Rural Committee around the clear cutting bylaw, and then some more information around garbage collection and anything else that was discussed as well during that meeting. So the budget is there for council's consideration. The document that's there is the final document that, if approved, would be certainly, staff would get going as soon as possible on any capital items. I know a couple of them have their RFPs and tenders ready. I'm looking in someone's direction over there that will be going out really soon, as well as other changes that will be happening.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Manning.
Just a question about taxation. So we just received our interim tax bills.
Yes.
Is that, what number is that based on?
That's represents 50% of the tax levy you paid in 2023.
Last year?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So people can expect that their next tax bill will go up substantially because it's going to cover.
Yes, so the calculation will be that once this is all approved, we get the final tax rates, council will approve those. Then the tax collector Viv will do those final calculations. And yes, because the rates will be going up, there will be a difference. So even though it's half of the levy from last year, you'll be paying more than half in, the second two payments that you're going to be making.
Right, the last two payments will be.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Questions or comments? Did you want, go ahead, Deputy Mayor?
I'd like to make a proposal at this time to rein this this budget in a little bit. What's the title of the budget? Activities under recreation.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to point out, Deputy Mayor Williams, that if you look on, I'd have to look on the exact page, but the line item is community development July 1st and Christmas expenses. So the current proposed budget is $15,500. So I think what council's directing staff to do is keep within that budget, because what we've spent in 2023 was above that. So I would be remiss to say that we should decrease that budget amount. I think what council's asking is that we keep to it, and/or look to grants to offset it. Now, I know there were some grants for, if you look to the report from the director, there were some donations that were received towards some of the activities, but I think what council's wanting us to do is keep within that budget amount. I wouldn't want to cut it any further without a better analysis on what we've actually spent.
Okay, thank you for that, Sarah. I'm certainly in favor of that, if that is going to, get this budget under control.
Yep.
But, what are we going to cut then? Because it was over twice overspent.
So I think.
Was that, just, can I ask the question, was the total, when we're talking about you said 15,000, what was that for?
It says.
So it says July 1st and
July
Christmas.
1st and Christmas.
Right.
So there were some expenses that were included in the director's report that were outside of that. And then.
We spent $37,000 on that last year.
Yeah.
27 for that.
There's-
And there was a line for Trinity Cafan, and there's
Yeah,
it
so-
keeps adding up, doubling up. There's some different, I got the budget for you.
So I think what staff are hearing is that maybe we need to do a better analysis of the breaking down that 15,500 into the specific line items that you're seeing on the actual expenses. And that perhaps there needs to be a report to council to say, this is how much money we have 15,500. This is where we're going to apportion that budget based on Maxville's, Christmas activities, Alexandria's Christmas activities, the July 1st, and et cetera, et cetera. And that council wants to see a report back on that. And then if we do have some differences, then staff will certainly look at some grants that are available. I know there's been federal grants before for Canada Day. We may be able to reach out to some of our service clubs. Maybe we can change some of the things we're doing. That I think that's a better way to kind of come about it. Being that none of these events have happened yet, I think we can kind of get ahead of it and get a better handle on it.
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as a report comes to council, so we
Absolutely.
know what's going on. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments? Yes, go ahead.
We do
Councilor
have if we do have a discussion after tonight about these events, which we will have a discussion, and we do manage to save or find a sponsor for the fireworks or something like that, or whatever, if there's money left over, we can always put that in reserve. Like, we don't need to change the approved budget just for that, yeah. So what I'm saying is that we're gonna try to keep our, yeah. So, but we do have to look at, because if you look at these expenses and you take another chart, there's another bunch of expenses, there's a lot of doublings up there. Some money came out for Journée La Femme in another budget for another department, and then it shows up here again at another amount. So, a little bit more clarity there, yeah.
Okay, if there are no more questions or comments. All those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried, none opposed. Okay, pumper truck borrowing bylaw 05-2024. I don't have a name on this one.
It's me.
Do you have it? Councilor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts part lot control. No.
Somebody have pumper truck. Go ahead, Councilor Madden. We just gotta wait for him to stand up.
I didn't say it's me. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't say it loud enough. I can't interrupt you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, the Council of the Township of North Glengarry received staff report TR 2024-04, pumper fire truck borrowing bylaw 05-2024, and that bylaw 05-2024 being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing of funds for financing of capital pumper truck be read a first, second, and third time and adopted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council authorized the purchase of a pumper truck for the North Glengarry Fire Department through the 2023 budget. The township will need to finance $800,000 through long-term debt over a 15-year period. RBC is currently offering a rate of 5.99% for a one-year term. They can also offer us rates for a 3- and a 5-year term. However, we strongly believe that the interest rate will go down after 1 year.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. None opposed. Okay, Planning, Building, and Bylaw Enforcement Department, zoning bylaw amendment Z 17, 2023. Councillor Manley. Jeez, I'm getting you both mixed up tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move by myself, seconded by Councillor Cadell, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopt zoning bylaw number Z 17-2023, and that bylaw Z 17-2023 be read a first, second, third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024. There's a typo in that.
Okay. Thank you. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the owner for that zoning bylaw amendment was Ron and Mary Seguin, 3375 Bureau Road in Alexandria. It was to rezone the retained portion to prohibit residential development, so on the agricultural portion. And it was also to prohibit agricultural use on the residential lot and to acknowledge the height and the setbacks from the agricultural building and to change the building. So I just want to mention there were some issues about a trailer and a manure trolley on the property. So the manure elevator has been removed and the barn has been changed to residential. So I was on site and I also ensured that the trailer was moved on the agricultural portion. So besides that, there was no other issues. There was no other comments and concerns from members of the public or any other agencies. So, yep, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion is carried. None opposed. Bylaw number 06-2024, exemption from part lot control. Councillor Massey.
I got 05.
No, it should be 06.
Okay, well,
Yeah, we can make a change on that.
Okay. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Madden, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts part lot control bylaw 06-2024.
Yep.
And that bylaw 06-2024 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Thank you, Councillor. Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we have done a few of those last year, part lot controls. The ones, so this is when we want to sever a property that's within a plan of lot control, so like within a town or within a subdivision, when you want to re-subdivide the property. Normally, we saw those last year with the semi-detached, where you just want to split it in half, or with townhomes, I think, where we did 4 new lots. In this case, it's exactly the same process, but the difference with this one is to sever like 2 properties that were merged together by like, not by mistake, but inadvertently by mistake, I guess. So the previous owners bought the 2 properties separately under 2 different names, and then something happened, I don't know what, but they changed the name to one of the properties, and it was exactly the same as the one beside. So the 2 properties are 50 Harrison, there's 2 dwellings on that one, so 50 Harrison and 64 Bishop, no, what's it? Elgin West, and the other one is 58 Harrison. So when he changed the name, the 2 properties were merged together. Now another owner came in, bought the 2 properties, whether he was aware or not that the 2 properties were together, they are. So now he wants to sell one off. The easiest solution for this is the same thing, so part lot control. So that's what he has applied for. Now what we have to do is just pass a bylaw, and the process is a lot quicker than severance. We just have to send that to the counties. So that's what it is right here. We're just proposing for the part lot control bylaw to be approved by council for the 2 properties to be severed back again. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. Thank you, Jacob. Public Works Department.
I should have
road.
one.
road widening bylaw, sorry, 07/2024. Councilor Madden. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Cadell, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopt bylaw 07/2024, being a bylaw to acquire and dedicate a portion of the property for road widening purposes, and that bylaw number 07/2024 be read a first, second, and third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there's a large property on the northeast corner of All Macmillan and County Road 43. The owner has created 2 new lots on the property, and the road widening along All Macmillan Road was never done, so the road was still 40 feet at some locations, but the road is not exact. So as, like, I think we've attached the R plan. As you can see, there are many parts that are now road widening. So this is simply a bylaw to acknowledge the road widening and to acquire the land to make sure that the road is 33 feet on this side of the road. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Jacob, when you mentioned acquire the land, was it that do we actually pay something for the land? Or we just...
No, when someone does a severance like that, one of the conditions that either us or the county, depending on what road it's fronting, we're allowed to ask for the road widening to make the road 66 feet. So it's just one of the conditions. If you want to sever your land, you have to give us the little portion of land to make the road wide as it's supposed to. No cost included, no.
Okay, any further questions? All those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. Moving on to Public Works Department, 2023 Drinking Water System Management Review. Deputy Mayor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Manley, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report PW 2024-01, 2023 Drinking Water System Management Review for information purposes only.
Thank you. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you're all probably used to now, this is a fairly standard report that we need to report back to council on the quality management system for the drinking water for both Glen Robinson and combined Alexandria Maxville. So we did a management review, as we would do normally every year, on December 13th of last year. I'm not going to dig right into the details because Angela will be here in a council report coming really soon with the actual operational details, and she can answer questions a lot better than I can. But the main takeaway is that we had our Ministry of Environment inspections on November 1st, and we had no non-conformances at all. Everything was very good as far as the ministry is concerned. But there are some other things that we look at in the management review. So we went through and looked at our capital projects, which we've talked about briefly in budget for this year, which is exciting. Water loss is a big issue that we're taking very seriously and taking more steps to curb. But in general, the system's in really good shape. We're doing really well compared to a lot of other townships, for sure. And the customer feedback and the results that we're getting from the team once we're up to full staff and running has been really good. Unfortunately, we have just lost another staff member, but we'll be filling that again. Yeah, overall a very good report, and Angela will be here to, you can for sure ask me questions about different control points, but Angela will answer those a lot better than me in the next few meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Council Madden.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick one. Tim, is this the one that Ewan does for us, or is this actually the MOE that, or MECP that comes in and does this?
So the MECP comes in to do our regulatory one, so that was in November. This one was just as part of our QMS system, which Ewan does, and we also get another company that has an acronym in it. I apologize. Yeah, we have two audits, an internal and an external. The internal is Ewan McDonald, and the external is, can you remember it? Yeah, SAI Global, thank you. It's an acronym. I actually don't know what the SAI stands for either. Thank you. Yes. They do a good job.
Any further questions or comments that Tim can answer? Councilor Martin.
Well, it sounds like a great report, and I'm certainly glad to take advantage of the nice fresh water I get when I turn on my tap every morning when I need a nice cold drink of water. Thank you.
Awesome. All those in favor? Motion is carried. None opposed. EV Charge Ontario Grant Application. Councilor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Williams, that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry receive staff report PW 2024-02 EV Charge Ontario Grant Application, and that the that the Council of the Township of North Glengarry authorizes the Director of Public Works to apply for the EV Charge Ontario Program 2023-24 grant on or before January 31st, 2024.
Thank you. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there is an opportunity for the township to apply for electric vehicle chargers through the Ontario government, which we're very excited for. The application timeline has actually been very short. We really found out about this in November, and I feel like it's going to be a race to get the applications in. The big restriction behind the grant was that you have to show that you've done your homework, that you've consulted with Hydro One, and that your project is feasible, which, because we maintain a very good relationship with our Hydro One, we've actually been able to go and do. Unfortunately, it did mean that we weren't able to, I would have liked to bring more reports about this, before actually coming to ask if we could apply for the grant, but there will be time to sort of modify the project as we go. But one of the major things is that we had to decide what sites that we're going to apply for. And the two that we thought that would work the best would be the municipal car park in Alexandria, and behind King George's Park, there's a few car spaces there in Maxville, and we wanted to pave that up, put some concrete work in there, and then put that as our second location as well. We were able to work with Hydro One, and we're confirmed for the feasibility for these two sites, which is great. And so we think we're in a good position that if we apply for the grant, we'll actually get it. There is also an opportunity for top-up funding. So I haven't mentioned that in this report, because if you put your application in contingent upon top-up funding, then the chances that you're actually going to get the grant are a lot lower. I feel that we have to approach this as we want to go for the 75% grant, and the top-up is a bonus if we can get it 100% covered. So I put in the start of my report when I first wrote this, which was a little bit more early on down the road, was that it's 50 to 75%. I can confirm it is 75% for municipalities that we get covered if we apply for this grant. And we should hear back in the spring of this year whether we're actually able to get it or not. So a little bit of background on electric vehicle chargers is there are 3 levels of electric vehicle chargers. Level 1 is the one that you only use in emergencies. It's basically your normal wall socket that you can plug your car into, and it will take a day or 2 to charge your car. Level 2 is like a dryer plug. So that's the one that most people have in their garages if they have a electric car, and you can plug in and you charge in a couple of hours, say 6 hours, something like that. Then there's the third and final type, which is the level 3. So the level 3 is a fast charger. You can plug in your car and you have it charged in about 20 minutes. So these are the ones that you see in public places. These are the ones that cars like Tesla and other cars have, digital maps inside their cars that take them to show them where the fast charging stations are. And really, when we were kind of looking into it, that would be the type of charger that's most beneficial for North Glengarry, the type of charger that puts North Glengarry on the map as a place to go to charge your electric vehicle. So there was a balance to be struck. So we felt that the best chargers to apply for and the best combo was one level 3 charger with a companion level 2 charger. So that keeps us under 100 kilowatts, which is very important when working with Hydro One to make sure that we have the capacity and that the grant, the people who approve the grant can look at it and say, absolutely, they've got their ducks lined up, they can go and get that done. There doesn't need to be any increase to hydro structure. It's essentially the same as putting in a residential service in terms of electrical load. So we're looking at really like a 200 amp service or less at each of these locations. In Maxville, it's a little bit more complicated because we do have to bring 3-phase power from across the road. So there'll be some excavation and we have to lift off the road surface there and actually put in a duct bank and bring across that 3-phase power. In the Alexandria car park, we're right there. So Hydro doesn't need to bring that service to us. We just take it down with our electrician and put it across the car park to where we want the chargers to be located. We haven't gotten to the stage of doing a layout and saying where each of the chargers would be inside those site plans, but we have time to figure that out. In total, we're looking at each site at $137,000 for a total cost. So that would include about half of that is site works. So essentially, new lines, signage, new asphalt at these locations, new concrete curbs, and then about $50,000 is the cost of the EV chargers combined. So that's the level 3 and the level 2s. Flow is the partner that we'd like to go with to go and get these chargers. We are a part of, as North Glengarry, we're a part of the Canoe Procurement Group, and we reached out to the top bidders in the group procurement process for canoe procurement, and Flow was the best. They responded us to the best. They're eager to go and get their chargers in, and we just didn't get the responses from the other two companies. So we think they're going to be the best, and that was also a part of us being successful with the grant, is the more that we can nail down right now for what we actually want to put in, the more successful we're going to be, because we're reducing project risk. If we put in a grant application which says, if you give us the grant, we'll start thinking about what charger we're going to use, we're not going to be successful, or I don't feel that gives us a good chance of being successful. So they scored very well. They were second in the Canoe Procurement Group, and essentially how this would work is we would pay a monthly fee, a yearly fee for them to essentially manage this for us using their online components, and the cost of using the charger that the drivers would pay the intent would be for that to cover the cost of the management fee for Flow, and essentially it would be a big attraction for both Alexandria and Maxville to try and draw in customers. The last part to mention is that why I think that we have a really strong grant application is we get extra points for there being amenities close to the charger. So they want a place where people can drive to the charger, and in that time that their car is charging, they can go to the amenities in the area and spend their money and use the restaurants or what have you. So I think that both locations being very close to Main Street are really strong for our applications. We did look at trying to put them in front of the arenas, so maybe Maxville Arena and Alexandria Arena, but it's not as strong on the grant application. That would be good for somebody coming to hockey practice or like a game or something like that, but they really want it to be accessible so that people can walk 5 minutes to a restaurant or what have you. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Madden, Councillor Cadell, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've talked about this lately, Tim. I think it's a great idea, and I think the fact that it brings people into the middle of town, in the middle of Maxville. I just wanted to clarify, I've got 110 in the report, but you said 137 each?
No.
Okay, so then, even if we didn't get the top up, which ideally we would, but even if we didn't, I got it at about 34,250 would be our 25% for each site. So we're gonna charge for this. We own these. We charge, people pay to obviously charge their vehicles. We can set the rate. So as you said, ideally that rate that is set covers the expense. We could theoretically put that a little bit higher so we could bank some dollars to either expand the program or replace these in the future if necessary, yes?
Absolutely. As we are a municipality, obviously we're not out to make a profit, but we would definitely, bank that and use it for, increasing the capacity of the car park or, improvement of our facilities.
Or other spots in the municipality that people could come to charge vehicles and, like you say, put it on the map. And if there's a map that says you can charge here, and by the way, go and have a meal, or go and spend money while you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a lot of money for, little value to us. And, how many thousands each? 37,000 each? If we get the grant?
Well, if we got the top up, it wouldn't be any cost to us. If we don't get the top up, it would be 34,250 to us.
Each?
Each.
Yeah, 34,000.
Yes.
That to me is outrageous. Where you see them are at places that want to draw people, that can afford to put them up. That's where I see them around. They're not just randomly on the street or whatever. I have to disagree. I don't see the big advantage. Say you go to Alexandria to go to a restaurant, maybe, Maxville, go to Muir's Bakery or a little tiny drugstore, that's a lot of money for, not often. And if you're gonna put one in Maxville, that location behind the park is, cleverly concealed. Who's gonna see that there? Or couldn't you find a place that's more public on Main Street that, people would see?
I think the one thing is that my brother came from Pittsburgh in an electric car, and it's all set up for every place that you can charge. So there's directions. The minute you hit it, there's a direction to that place. So I think it's not like you're driving around looking for a gas station. I don't think you're driving around looking for an EV charger. So yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to address a few of those points, there is a lot of signage that is a mandatory part of the grant. So and another thing to think about with thinking about the entire cost is that 137,000 isn't covering that's not just a charger. That's new asphalt, new lines, new concrete curbs, new signage, new.
Still part of the cost, though.
Yeah, sorry, my apologies. It's also an opportunity for us to rehabilitate our, municipal car park and the King George's Park, and we have an old signage there that we probably want to upgrade to the new logos and everything like that. That would all be covered by this grant. So just to add some perspective is that I feel like that 37,000 that would be our portion is essentially capital money that we would probably end up spending anyway, that we will need to keep these assets running. Right? We have put $30,000 a year into rehabilitation of the municipal car parks, and so when this is an opportunity to get a big portion of that paid for.
Okay, subsequent question?
So is this worth more than 1% of our entire budget?
Do you want me to answer that one? Yeah, so the 1%, I guess the benefit that you see isn't just over 1 year. So that's our 1%, over 1% of our budget for 1 year. This charger has a lifespan of over 50 years. So, 1/50th of a percent, I would say it's worth it, especially if it brings in more business, right?
No, I have Deputy Mayor Williams and then Councillor Massey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think this is infrastructure we're going to need in North Glengarry at some point anyway. And to get it covered by 75% funding, rather than having to pay for it all ourselves, I'm all for it. Just a question with regards to the number 3 charger. You're putting in a 2 and a 3. Now, you say that there just isn't enough capacity or something like that to put in 2 3s? Because I just don't know that somebody's going to come off the highway and say, oh yeah, I'll just hang around Maxwell for 6 hours while my car charges. It's a long time for a visitor.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yes. So the level 3 charger, if we go over 100 kilowatts, it becomes a lot more complicated for Hydro One to supply us. If there are actually more ports on the level 3 charger, so there are ports and then there's actual capacity. So this would be a 50 kilowatt EV charger that you could plug 2 cars into at once to fast charge. Your time would extend a little bit if you're adding two cars, but it isn't linearly. So I'm not 100% sure what the time becomes if you plug two cars in, but you are not having you're not up to 6 hours on the EV charger. It would be good to add more more chargers going forward, but the level 3 charger itself is about $45,000 supply. So that's where the main cost comes from. So if we were to add 2, our risk on the grant becomes more, because if we only get 75% of it covered, then we're at a larger portion to add it. One of the main things, though, to your point, is that they are set for expansion. So we can quite easily upgrade them in the future if we find we need to add it. The reason that there is level 2 ports as level 2 chargers as well as a level 3 charger is for redundancy. So if something did happen to the charger, there was a software malfunction or somebody hit it with their car or something like that, then the level 2 charger is a backup that they can use to charge while the warranty guy comes to repair.
Councillor Massey?
I agree, it's a good idea and it's a good infrastructure to have, but I tend to lean on Brian's point that it's a lot of money for us to, it's a lot of money for the taxpayers of North Glengarry to support the electric cars of the world. Like, it's on them. They're going to be, I'd rather, Tim, you come back. Like, I agreed to apply for the grant, and God, if we get it for free, that's perfect. But if not, if you're thinking only 75%, come up with a better business plan that we can recoup the money. Because right now, it just say that you're just hopefully covering the cost of the electricity plus a little bit for the maintenance or something. I'd rather you put a little bit of profit so we can put that in a reserve somewhere. Come back with a better business plan. Because if I'm a taxpayer and I own an old horse and carriage, I don't want to be supporting a electric car.
Okay.
Yeah, I completely
Tim.
agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I apologize. There is not a business plan with this, and once we see what we get with the second grant, as to Mike Madden's point, is we can use the fees to cover the extra capital cost. There's no problems with that.
Okay, further questions or comments? Either side, Councillor Madden.
Just to add to, so everybody's thinking about this, I don't know, the right way. maybe. Just to reiterate what Tim said, this does pay for itself because they're paying to use this. This isn't something that drives up to and
The
plugs
way it
in.
is now, they're paying the equivalent of what they're charging us for the electricity.
No.
There's a charge, an extra charge.
There's a fee on there that we're making money on
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So let's just talk about, we're actually potentially installing infrastructure that actually has revenue. This is not.
Well, I want to see the revenue. In
That-
numbers.
Fair enough, but we set the price.
You know what I mean, Tim?
The other.
So many kilowatts per year, so many revenue per year for 10 years, and we're actually making money at the end of the day. That's what I want to see.
So, and just to talk about the level 2, level 3 thing, a level 3 is potentially 20, 30 minutes. If you hook up 2, maybe it's 30, 35 minutes. But the level 2 is also potentially available for someone who's staying overnight. So the level 3 is somebody who's passing through, wants it fast. Level 2 presumably would be a slightly lower rate that somebody would hook up to for, an overnight stay or an extended day trip or something of that sort. So there is a potential use for both of those. It is a redundancy, but it's also potentially usable.
Okay. Thank you. Any final comments before I call the vote? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Motion is carried. Okay, moving on to notice of motion. Next regular public meeting of council is Monday, February 12th at 6 p.m. Question period.
Same question as before. Anything going on with this Glengarry News?
I unfortunately can't answer that. Just, we'll know by the end of, I'll say we'll know by the end of this week whether it's a go or not. That's the drop dead deadline, so. Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Okay. No closed session, confirming bylaw. Councillor Cadell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Martin, that Council of the Township of North Glengarry adopts bylaw 08-2024, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, and that bylaw 08-2024 be read a first, second, third time and enacted in open council this 29th day of January 2024.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Manley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move by myself, second by Councillor Massey. There being no further business to discuss, the meeting was adjourned at 7:10 p.m.
Great, thank you. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. We went through 4 meetings, went fairly smoothly, so thank you to staff and everybody, and thank you to anybody watching at home, and Ken for coming. Have a great week. Thank you.